My father's debt collector crashed my wedding, exposing his massive gambling debts in front of everyone. Now I'm racing to save my marriage and our family's honor. The vineyard's late afternoon glow bathed the rows of grapevines in gold as guests gathered beneath white canopies for our outdoor ceremony. I had dreamed of this day for years, walking down an aisle lined with peonies toward the man I loved, with my father proudly at my side. Instead, at the very moment I reached the altar, a commanding voice cut through the music and applause. "Debt collector, stop the ceremony. You are advised that James Rockwell owes $125,000. I'm Milton Hart of Brock & Sons Debt Recovery, and I'm here to collect immediately." Silence rippled through the crowd. I froze in my lace gown. My father's face drained of color, my mother gasped. My fiancé, Daniel, blinked in surprise. Behind me, the string quartet faltered on the final chord. White folding chairs creaked as guests turned toward the newcomers, two suited men flanking Mr. Hart. "Dad, Emily, I can explain." I swallowed, voice tight. "Explain at home, Dad." Debt collector, per court order, garnishment notice number 87222024, all funds on the premises and Mr. Rockwell's assets are subject to immediate seizure. If full payment is not provided today, we will pursue legal action and garnish wages, bank accounts, and any property tied to Ms. Rockwell's family. My heart pounded. I felt the gauze of my long white veil tighten around my temples. Guests exchanged uneasy glances. My meticulously planned wedding, catered by a top chef, florist by a renowned designer, and captured by a celebrity photographer, ground to a halt. I stepped back, clutching my bouquet. Daniel rushed to my side. "Daniel, we'll figure this out." "Dad." "Honey, I thought I had more time." Me. "You gambled away your debts and my wedding day." The debt collector produced a leather-bound folder, brandishing a judgment, interest accruals, and a payment schedule. A hush descended. My mother's shoulders shook. My bridesmaids, in pastel dresses, peered at me with wide eyes. Debt collector: "I'll accept a lump sum today, cash, certified check, or immediate transfer to our trust account. Otherwise, this wedding is postponed indefinitely." I exhaled, my world spinning. The vineyard, which had symbolized new beginnings, now felt like prison bars. That evening, the florist's twinkling lights still hung, and the dinner tables were set, but the celebration never began. Daniel and I, draped in our wedding attire, sat at an empty head table, its place cards fluttering in the breeze. Daniel: "Emily, none of this changes how I feel. We'll make it right." Me: "I love you, Dan, but my father's debts, they've become ours." My mother joined us, tears in her eyes. My father hovered nearby, guilt etched on his face. "Mom, we should call everyone off, let people go home." "Dad, I'll pay, somehow." I took a deep breath. This can't wait. Tomorrow, lawyer, debt settlement, family meeting, we fix this before it destroys us. At dawn, I dressed in a simple sundress and met Daniel for coffee under the veranda. The morning light felt harsh as emails and texts pinged nonstop. Bridesmaids: "Are you okay?" Caterer: "Deposit is non-refundable, $10,000. Guests: "When's the next date?" I texted our closest friends. Me: "Morning all, I know you saw what happened. Daniel and I are handling it now. Wedding postponed. New date soon. Love you." Responses poured in: empathy, offers of loans, words of encouragement. I squeezed Daniel's hand. Despite the crisis, we still had each other. By 9 a.m., our immediate family gathered in the Rockwell living room. My grandmother clutching her rosary, my aunt pacing, and my parents sitting stiffly on the sofa. Daniel stood beside me, silent support. Me: "Thank you all for coming. I know this is embarrassing, but Dad's debts threaten our future. We have to be honest and act now." I outlined a plan. Legal stay: engage an attorney to file an urgent motion to stay garnishment of wedding deposits and homeowner assets. Debt negotiation: contact Brock & Sons to propose a settlement, lump sum down payment plus a structured repayment. Family loan pool: explore loans from close relatives and friends willing to help. Transparent communication: inform key vendors and postpone payments. explaining the situation to preserve relationships. Long-term recovery, Dad to seek financial counseling and a supervised budget, avoiding repeat gambling. My grandmother crossed herself. Whatever you need, dear. My aunt offered her retirement fund as collateral. Daniel's parents arranged to cover part of the caterer's deposit. The room buzzed with solidarity. Our community, once shaken, was rallying. At 11 a.m., Dad and I met Ms. Kawachi, a skilled debt resolution attorney, in her downtown office. Warm wood panels and soft light lent calm. Ms. Kawachi, Mr. Rockwell, you face an enforceable judgment, but we can negotiate. Brock & Sons may accept $10,000 down and $2,500 monthly for 40 months, plus waiving late fees. Dad's shoulders sagged. I can gather $10,000 from family contributions today. Ms. Kawachi, then we draft a settlement agreement, file it with the court to stay garnishment orders. You'll need certified checks by week's end. Me and my wedding? She smiled gently. We can request dismissal of the garnishment stay for wedding vendors too, protecting deposits. There's a path forward. Dad exhaled. Relief and dread wove together. We had a deal, but the fight had only begun. Update 1. That afternoon, Daniel and I returned to Miss Kawachi's office, binders in hand. The settlement draft awaited our signatures. I glanced at Dad, whose eyes were rimmed with exhaustion. Miss Kawachi began. Miss Kawachi, I've sent the proposal to Milton Hart. He's agreed to the $10,000 down and $2,500 per month for 40 months, removing late fees, and a formal stay on garnishing any deposits related to your wedding vendors. We need your signatures. Dad and I signed the agreement, careful to initial every page. Ms. Kawachi notarized the documents and instructed Dad. Ms. Kawachi, have your down payment ready by Friday. I'll deliver the settlement to Brock & Sons then. They'll file it with the court and lift the garnishment order immediately. Outside, Dad exhaled. I can't believe it's real. Thank you. I squeezed his hand. We'll fix this. Next, Daniel and I split vendor calls. He reached our venue coordinator, I called the caterer and photographer. On speakerphone, Daniel explained. Daniel, hi, this is Daniel Parker. I'm calling about Emily and my wedding. We've had an emergency with family finances, but we intend to keep our date. Could we apply our previous deposit toward a rescheduled date next month? The venue manager hesitated, then replied. Venue manager, Mr. Parker, we understand. Your deposit will hold for a new date within 6 months. No penalty. Daniel exhaled. That's one down. Meanwhile, I spoke to the caterer's office. Me, Emily Reynolds. We need to postpone our reception by 4 weeks. Will you apply our $8,000 deposit to the new date? The caterer paused thoughtfully. Caterer, given the circumstances, yes. We'll work with you. Just confirm the new date by next Tuesday. Next, the photographer. Me, we need to reschedule our shoot. Photographer, call my assistant. We'll find another weekend, no extra fee. One by one, our vendors agreed, reluctantly, but with grace. Each confirmed they'd lock in deposits, lifting immediate financial pressures. That evening, Dad convened a family call. My aunt had offered $5,000 from her savings. My uncle pledged $2,000. Grandma added $1,500. Mom scraped together $1,000. Dad, with your help I can scrape together the $10,000 down payment. I felt tears sting. Thank you, all of you. Daniel leaned in. We'll cover late fees and interest from our joint account. He squeezed my hand. I realized we were not alone. Yet the crisis weighed heavily on our relationship. Over the next days, our pre-wedding bliss gave way to tension. Daniel's work. He spent evenings crafting spreadsheets and vendor emails, exhaustion etched in his lines. My stress. I worried constantly, tracking each dollar, fielding sympathetic texts, and hiding my tears from sight. One night, we sat at our kitchen table, plans for our honeymoon brochure spread out but untouched. Daniel, I'm worried about us. We've barely had time to talk. Me, I know, I'm sorry. I promise once this settles, we'll take that trip. He nodded, but I could see his doubt. I reached across the table. Thank you for being my rock. Daniel, I love you. We'll get through this together. Friday arrived. Dad delivered certified checks totaling $10,000 to Ms. Kawachi, $5,000 from family loans. $2,500 from our joint savings, $2,500 from Dad's emergency fund. That afternoon, Miss Kawachi personally handed the settlement agreement and payment to Milton Hart's office. Within hours, she confirmed, "Miss Kawachi, the court has filed your settlement. Garnishment stays are in effect. No vendor deposits will be seized." Relief surged. Daniel and I hugged Dad in the hallway, tears on our cheeks. Mom beamed nearby. With legal and vendor matters settled, we set a new date. 5 weeks later, we sent a brief announcement. "Dear friends, our wedding is officially rescheduled for new date. All deposits are secured, and we can't wait to celebrate with you then. Thank you for your understanding and support, Emily and Daniel." Replies poured in. "Can't wait. So happy for you. We're here for you." That evening, Daniel and I stood on the vineyard's terrace, now empty and quiet. Lanterns flickered, echoing what should have been our vows. "Daniel, tomorrow we'll meet with our counselor for finances, and soon we'll book that honeymoon. Me, I'll never forget how you stood by me." He smiled, brushing a stray hair from my face. "Always." As dusk settled, I felt hope rekindled, our marriage intact, our family rallied, and the path clear to a second chance at our wedding day. Update 2. With our wedding rescheduled and immediate debts under control, Daniel and I dove into rebuilding our financial foundation, starting with couples counseling and confronting Dad's ongoing struggle with gambling. Saturday morning, we sat across from therapist Lydia, a warm, no-nonsense counselor specializing in newlyweds and money management. In her softly lit office, piles of budget books and colorful pie charts decorated the shelves. "Lydia, congratulations on surviving a major financial crisis together. Today we'll strengthen your partnership by creating a shared financial plan." She guided us through exercises. Money history, we each shared our upbringing. Daniel's parents saved rigorously. I watched Dad's hidden debts implode our security. Money values. We wrote what money meant to us: security, freedom, generosity, and compared notes. Financial goals. Short-term. Pay off Dad's remaining 39 months of $2,500 payments. Mid-term, honeymoon and emergency fund of $10,000. And long-term, first home down payment retirement savings. We drafted a couples budget pact. Joint account, all monthly income pooled, 70% living expenses, 20% savings/debt, 10% discretionary. Monthly finance date, first Saturday each month to review spending. Adjust as needed. Gambling clause. Dad's debts are separate. Any future family loans require unanimous consent and counseling check-ins. Daniel and I exchanged relieved smiles. I felt that, at last, we were truly united. That afternoon, my phone pinged with an unsigned email. Reminder: missed 2 consecutive payments and garnishment resumes. Brock & Sons, debt recovery. My pulse tripped. Though we'd paid our down payment, our next $2,500 installment was due in 4 weeks, and Dad's medical bills threatened to wipe out his emergency fund first. I shared the email with Dad over dinner. "Dad, I forgot to tell you, I'm behind on my medical bills. I had to pay out of pocket for Mom's surgery." Me: "Dad, you can't sacrifice Mom's health for gambling debts. We need a backup plan." Daniel suggested side income. He could pick up freelance projects to cover Dad's payments if needed. Crowdfunding. A private family GoFundMe to raise $2,500, anonymously seeded by close friends. Temporarily tighten budget. Pause discretionary spending for 1 month. No dining out, no streaming subscriptions. Dad nodded, relief and shame mingling on his face. "Let's do it." I set up a private crowdfunding page titled "Support the Rockwell's Recovery Fund," shared only with immediate family and friends via email and text. As you know, James Rockwell faced a sudden medical crisis, alongside lingering debts. We're raising $2,500 to cover his next settlement payment and keep our family on track. Any contribution helps, no amount too small. Within 48 hours, contributions reached $1,800. Friends, cousins, and neighbors pitched in. Daniel and I covered the remaining $700 from our discretionary savings, then transferred the full $2,500 to Dad's Brock & Sons portal. By day's end, the collector's email shifted tone. Payment received. Next due in 30 days. Thank you. The relief was palpable. Dad would avoid default, and our counsel to tighten budgets felt justified. That Sunday, Dad attended his first gambling recovery meeting at the local community center, a support group for those battling compulsive behavior. I accompanied him for backing, but waited outside as he spoke. Group leader, welcome. Your story is yours to share when you're ready. Dad, I hid debts from my family. I gambled, thinking I could win back what I lost. I failed them. He left the meeting, tears in his eyes, clutching a pamphlet on financial self-regulation and hotline numbers. Later, he hugged me. Dad, I never want to break your trust again. I squeezed his hand. Thank you for facing it. Daniel and I met Lydia again to integrate Dad's recovery into our couple plan. Lydia, your family's health affects your partnership. Maintaining boundaries, financial and emotional, is key. We adjusted the couple's budget pact. Emergency pot, $5,000 buffer dedicated to immediate family, medical, or legal emergencies, untouchable for other expenses. Dad's allowance, $500 per month from family pool for living costs, ensuring his bills are covered without affecting our plans. Check-in calls, weekly calls with Dad to track his payments, spending, and recovery progress. These guardrails provided structure and compassion. Dad wasn't ostracized but supported. 2 weeks later, an unexpected expense arose. Our car's transmission failed. Repair estimate $2,200. Panic flickered. I reviewed our budget. Discretionary funds were down to $300. Emergency pot was $10,000 but off limits for non-family crises. We faced a choice: drain emergency pot or seek alternative. Daniel suggested payment plan. Ask the mechanic for an installment plan. $1,100 now. $550 monthly for 2 months. Rideshare work. Daniel committed an extra 10 hours per week to pay installments. Carpooling. We arranged carpools to conserve gas and limit wear on the car. At the mechanic, I negotiated the payment plan successfully. Relieved, we updated our budget. Monthly budget pact added $550 auto repair expense. Side income allocation, top 2 months rideshare earnings to car repair, then revert to Dad's pool if surplus. We had survived another test, this time as a couple, not just a family. As spring blossomed, our monthly finance date ritual became something I looked forward to. Over wine and spreadsheets, Daniel and I celebrated milestones: every on-time debt payment, every replenished emergency pot, and the slow, steady rebuild of trust. Dad sent occasional updates. Spline meeting with my counselor went well, and next session Thursday, each message was a small triumph. I realized we were weaving a new narrative, one of resilience, transparency, and shared responsibility. Update 3. Late July brought the unthinkable. Dad called in a panic. Dad, Emily, I slipped. I placed a small bet at the track. My heart sank. A relapse could unravel everything. Daniel and I rushed to meet him at the community center lounge, where he'd agreed to check in after his session. Dad sat slumped in a vinyl chair, shame etched on his face. His hands trembled as he toyed with a coffee cup. Me, Dad, you slipped, but we're here for you. Dad, I wasn't thinking. I was nervous about next month's payment. I thought I had it under control. Daniel knelt beside him. You're human. What matters is what you do next. Dad nodded, tears pooling. I need help, more support, accountability. I'm so sorry. That evening, we convened with Dad's sponsor, James P., at a quiet diner. James was a long-standing member of the gambling recovery group and had guided Dad through its earliest days. James P., a relapse isn't failure, it's a signal. We'll adjust your plan. More meetings, daily check-ins, and financial locks. We charted a renewed strategy. Daily check-ins. Dad to text a spending log each night to both me and James. Financial lockbox. Dad's debit card to remain with James, who will disperse a $500 weekly allowance. Peer group increase. 2 extra weekly support meetings, focusing on stress management tools. Accountability partner Daniel agreed to join 1 meeting monthly, strengthening our family accountability. Dad exhaled. I won't let you or myself down again. Days later, an envelope arrived for us, a $1,200 check from my late grandmother's estate, which she'd left for family emergencies. My grandmother had known of Dad's struggle and quietly set aside this buffer. Me, Grandma, thank you. We deposited the check into the emergency pot, bolstering it to $11,200. Now the relapse threat felt less catastrophic. To test our safeguards, we simulated a high-stress scenario, a surprise legal fee for a neighborhood dispute, $800. Following the new protocol, Dad requested his weekly allowance from James, who approved $300 for that week, while Daniel covered the remainder from side gigs. Dad reported the transaction in his nightly check-in. The system worked. Dad resisted temptation and our trust held. Meanwhile, I felt the ripple effects in my marriage. At home, small tensions spiked. Daniel's fatigue from extra shifts triggered irritability. My anxiety over Dad's relapse led me to snap at Daniel. One evening, I found him reading at the kitchen table, exhaustion in his eyes. "Daniel, Emily, I love you, but we need balance. We can't let Dad's crisis consume us." He was right. I reached across the table. "I'm sorry, let's carve out time just for us. No budgets, no debt talk." That weekend, we took a day trip to the coast. No phones, just ocean air and shared laughter, reminding us why we'd chosen each other. By late August, Dad completed 12 extra support meetings and kept daily check-ins flawlessly. He even began attending a mindfulness class to curb stress-induced cravings. At our weekly finance date, Daniel and I celebrated. Second consecutive on-time payment of Dad's debt installment. Replenished emergency pot after unexpected expenses. Balanced budget despite the relapse scare. We toasted iced tea on our porch. "To resilience," Daniel smiled, "and to our family. Me, and to new beginnings, stronger than ever." Update 4. As autumn's amber leaves began to fall, the Rockwells moved toward their final debt milestone. With Dad's structure in place, our family's collective efforts converged on the day of his last scheduled settlement payment, $2,500 due on October 15th, marking the completion of 40 months of repayments. On the crisp morning of October 15th, Dad, flanked by James P., his sponsor, and me, visited Brock & Sons' downtown office. Milton Hart greeted us tersely. "Milton Hart, Mr. Rockwell, your account shows $2,500. Today's payment clears your debt balance of $125,000 plus interest." Dad presented a check from our joint family escrow. Hart tallied the numbers, clicked the calculator, and looked up. "Milton Hart, this account is now zero. Congratulations, Mr. Rockwell." Dad exhaled, relief flooding his features. He extended his hand. "Dad, thank you for your patience." Hart hesitated, then nodded curtly. "It's a first in my 20 years. Zero balance on time. Well done." With the final payment confirmed, Ms. Kawachi filed the dismissal of the garnishment order in court. That afternoon, a certified letter arrived at our home. Clerk's office. Case number 8722024. All writs of garnishment and liens against James Rockwell are hereby vacated. I read the official notice aloud. Daniel and I embraced Dad and Mom in a circle of tears and laughter. Our collective sacrifices had culminated in this moment. Freedom from decades of debt haunting our family. That evening, we gathered in our backyard, now festooned with autumn wreaths and twinkling lights, for an impromptu family covenant ceremony. I had crafted a simple vow. We pledge honesty in hardship, unity in crisis, and compassion in relapse. Through grace and accountability, our family stands stronger, today and always. Dad, hand trembling, repeated the words. Mom and Grandma joined in, then Daniel and I, and finally James P. As our voices rose in unison, a cool breeze stirred, carrying leaves across the lawn. It felt like a benediction, a cleansing of past mistakes. With Dad's debts resolved, we turned to the long-awaited wedding. Invitations went out in early November for December 5th, 5 weeks away, timed for a late fall celebration beneath golden maples. The vineyard would be replanted in seasonal blooms. Vendors were ready. Daniel and I slipped back into wedding planning with renewed joy. Tasting menus, dance lessons, a photographer eager to capture redemption rather than scandal. Friends joked, "This is the comeback wedding of the century," and we laughed together, genuine excitement sparkling in our eyes. At the rehearsal dinner, held at my parents' home, every seat was filled, extended family, close friends, and instead of grief, the air buzzed with warm anticipation. Dad gave a heartfelt toast. "Dad, I failed you once, but your love and forgiveness have restored me. Tonight, we celebrate not just a marriage, but a family reborn." Tears glistened, glasses clinked, and the sting of past shame was replaced by pride. Clara and I exchanged winks. Our partnership had helped steer us through the storm. Lying in my childhood bedroom that night, I reflected on our journey. The walls, once adorned with family photos, now seemed infused with new meaning. I whispered a prayer of gratitude for my husband's steadfast love, my family's unity, and the hard-earned clarity that honesty and teamwork could conquer even the deepest debt. As dawn approached, I felt ready to finally say the vows I dreamed of, in full knowledge that our marriage stood on rock, not sand. Update 5. December 5th dawned bright and crisp, the vineyard aglow with late fall hues and twinkling lights. After months of turmoil, today felt like a culmination of resilience and renewal. As I slid into my gown, its lace bodice reminiscent of the original dress, butterflies danced in my stomach. Daniel stood nearby in his navy suit, grinning with sheer relief. Under a canopy of amber maples, friends and family gathered. My mother beamed. Dad, steady and proud, donned his suit without a trace of tension. The string quartet struck a joyful chord. I took Dad's arm, and we began our walk down the aisle, this time uninterrupted. Daniel's eyes glistened as I approached. No debt collectors loomed, no whispered judgments, only love and celebration. At the altar, we exchanged meaningful glances, grateful for this second chance. Officiant, Emily and Daniel, you stand here today tested by life's storms, yet stronger for it. Do you vow to uphold honesty, compassion, and unwavering support in all seasons? We spoke our vows, acknowledging the hardships we'd endured. Me, I promise to navigate life's challenges with you, to honor our shared values of trust and transparency. Daniel, I promise to stand by you in crisis and calm, to build our future on love and mutual respect. The congregation erupted in applause as we sealed our vows with a kiss, married at last. The reception sparkle was richer than before. Tables bore centerpieces of seasonal blooms and candles, and a long table displayed our journey photographs. The halted wedding, the family covenant, the debt-free court notice, and finally, our rehearsal dinner toast. Guests rose to their feet as Dad delivered a heartfelt speech. Dad, I stand before you debt-free and humbled. My greatest gamble was on my family's love, and I've won beyond measure. To Emily and Daniel, may your union be blessed with truth and grace. Tears shimmered, glasses clinked. Elliot Fraser, present by invitation, offered silent nods of respect, his own redemption arc interwoven with ours. In lieu of wedding favors, Daniel and I presented a donation drive for the homeless shelter Dad once tried to fund. Envelopes bearing our names held gift cards and pledges. An online portal displayed real-time contributions. Clara, now co-chair of the Financial Integrity Council, announced, "Clara, in honor of your support in our family's journey, 100% of proceeds will sustain the shelter's winter programs, ensuring hope remains unbroken." Guests lined up, generosity renewed. The shelter's director stood by, tears in her eyes, moved by the community's spirit. Later, beneath a canopy of stars, Daniel and I stole a moment on the terrace. The laughter and music faded into the background. Daniel, we did it. No more debts, no more secrets. I rested my head on his shoulder. We built something stronger than any dream wedding: honesty, resilience, family. He kissed my forehead. Here's to every season ahead. As the final dance concluded, I stood before our guests one last time. Me. Our story shows that crises can forge deeper bonds. If you ever face hidden burdens or family secrets, know you're not alone. Speak truth, lean on loved ones, and rebuild with compassion. Soft applause rippled through the crowd, an affirmation that our journey had inspired others. In the end, the greatest debt repaid was not the $125,000 gambler's tab. It was the restoration of trust, honor, and an enduring family bond, proving that even the deepest wounds can heal through transparency and love.